While other fish are relegated to the vast oceans, lakes, and rivers that cover 70% of the planet, some decided that it wasn't enough room. Bent on total global domination, the Atlantic Mudskipper wants to be where the people are. By using its mighty pecs to drag itself onto land, the skipper slaps its way out of the waves and into our hearts, as one of the only voluntary fish out of water here in life, death, and taxonomy.
Welcome back to Life, Death, and Taxonomy. It's your 30 minutes of interesting animal information. I am Joe.
And I'm Carlos.
Thank you to Cassie for the creation of our theme song. To hear more of Cassie's music, please search Cassie Michelle on YouTube or on Spotify.
And thank you to Brian for the creation of this week's artwork. To check it out, you can follow us on Facebook or Twitter, or visit us at our home on the web at lttaxonomy.com.
And today we're talking about a slimy yet satisfying frogish fish, but more on that later.
Didn't those bugs in Lion King just look delicious?
They did. There's a lot of foods in movies that look delicious, but then when you're a child.
And when you think about it, you're just like, no, it wouldn't be.
Tubby custard, although now it looks like Pepto-Bismol to me.
I have not seen a picture or video of Tubby custard in a very long time. But I'm sure, I'm gonna look it up. Maybe it's delectable now. Oh no. Oh no, it's not good. Oh, that's bad. It's so bad. I forgot about the sentient robot that sucks it up at the end.
What about the ratatouille in
That still
Ratatouille?
That still looks good. To a degree, but it doesn't look like world-changing good like the movie treats it. It's just a bunch of like salami and vegetables, right, stacked on each other, and you can eat it in one bite. Like, can't be that good. Probably cost him like $70 for that meal.
That food buffet that weird smoke mask monster eats in Spirited Away.
Oh, No Face?
Yeah.
Yeah, that looks pretty good. I've seen that movie a lot. But yeah, we're not talking about smoke-faced monsters or bugs or Tubby custard. We're talking about what are we talking about, actually? This is your shtick.
No one knows.
Okay, I guess.
Let's
just shoot the breeze.
About the Atlantic Mudskipper.
Mudskippers in general, but the Atlantic Mudskipper has a cool binomial nomenclature, and also this is a specific recommendation by none other than my mom. Occasionally she'll text me and say, hey, this is a pretty cool animal, you guys should do this. So I'm like, yes, and I add it to the list, and here we are.
Interessante. That's a good idea.
Yeah, so if you have a animal recommendation, feel free to email us at ldtaxonomy@gmail.com, and if we can find a cool superpower for it, we'll add it to the list. Or if we haven't already done it, that's also. But yeah, so this is the Atlantic Mudskipper, but we're going to call it here Mudskipper of the First Fleet, which is what Brian called it when he sent us the art. And also call it Mudskippity Dude. This is a dumb one. And pelvic power pecs, which I'll go into more later.
Interesting.
Or power pec presentation. That's also a good one. How about you taxonomize this? How about you give us exactly one science, please?
One science coming up, hot and ready.
Right. Can you drizzle it with some Tubby custard?
Of course.
Drench it, actually. I like my science drenched in Tubby custard.
The kingdom is one that you know, love, and are in. The kingdom Animalia.
Yes.
The phylum is Chordata.
Also yes.
The class is, I think we know this at this point, Actinopterygii. Bony fish.
Bony fish. Actinopterygii. This is one that every time I spell it out without looking, I'm surprised that I get it right. And I also can't spell receipt right the first time ever. So.
Receipt.
But is it recept? Or receipt? Anyway, I'm just surprised I get this one right. Actinopterygii.
The order is Gobiformes or Gobiformes? Gobiforme.
It's a goby fish. We've covered the goby fish and how it climbs up walls and stuff like that in waterfalls. Check it out.
It sure do that. And then the family is Oxyduraceae. Oh, no. Oxydurcidae.
Oxydurcidae, yeah, that makes sense.
And then the species is, or the genus rather, is Periophthalmus.
PHTH. Oh my goodness.
Phthalmus.
Periophthalmus.
The Thalmor Embassy.
Skyrim reference. But you just have to put an F in the front of it. Phthalmus.
Yeah. The species is Barbarus, so that is Periophthalmus barbarus.
What a goofy word. I mean, barbarous is fine. But speaking of the words you just said, it's time for my favorite part of the show, nitty-gritty nomenclature.
Oh.
Because it's a fish, a group of them is a school. We know this. But in this game, nitty-gritty nomenclature, this is the part of the show where I ask you, Joe, a question, and this question is not the same every time. This time, it's what is the meaning of the binomial nomenclature, which is Periophthalmus barbarus. It's Greek, I'll give you that. And here are your options. Does Periophthalmus barbarus mean A, around foreign eyes, B, bearded semi-brain, C, savage eyesight, or D, spiked dorsal fin?
I'm going to go with D, spiked dorsal fin.
Is that your final answer?
Yeah.
Incorrect. The answer is around foreign eyes. So it's perio means around. Thalamus means eyes, apparently, and then barbarous is foreign. So that's where you get the word barbarian. It doesn't mean a savage or unsophisticated person. It just means a foreigner.
It's like the Gentile version of people from outside.
Yeah, there's us, and then there's barbarians. That's it. There's only two types of people in this world.
In the Roman, to Romans, right? It was Romans and barbarians.
Yeah, I guess they called them like the barbarian races and things like that. But this is a Greek word, but the Romans took a lot from the Greeks, including a lot of their language. So, but yeah,
very true.
It's it has to do with the fact that its eyes are very different in comparison to other fish.
You don't say.
Even other goby fish.
Speaking of that, would you like to hear a description?
I sure would, even though I already know what it looks like.
Okay. So the mudskipper is a frogish-faced fish, and it has a body that tapers down to the tail, so it's teardrop-shaped, long teardrop-shaped.
Mm-hmm.
The mudskipper has bulging frog-like eyes on the top of their head. Like you mentioned, that's pretty strange.
Yeah, I mean, usually fish have giant eyes, kind of sunk or like at least level with the rest of their bodies and located on either side of their head, so that they can kind of get a good view of everything that's around them. But these look exactly like frog face is exactly frogish face is how I would describe them as well.
What was the red-lipped batfish? They sort of had a similar head, right?
Yeah, and their locomotion is kind of similar. Just in
Is it
different environments.
Was that what it really is called? Red-lipped?
Yeah, the red-lipped batfish. We covered that a while ago.
They also have small but strong pectoral fins. They have a large dorsal fin that's followed by a smaller fin ray, which is the name of.
That's the romantic coupling of
yes
names of the Star Wars protagonists, like Brangelina.
They also come in a mottled brown in varying shades. They also have black or white speckles all over their backs. So it looks like it's your typical brown to black to tan fish. It ain't no reef fish. But since we're talking about description, would you like to know how big it is?
If we must.
Welcome to the Beloved Measure Up segment, the official listener's favorite part of the show. The part of the show when we present the animal size and dimensions in relatable terms through a quiz that's fun for the whole family. It's also part of the show that's introduced by you when you send in an audio of yourself saying, singing, or chittering. The words measure up into ldtaxonomy@gmail.com. We don't have a new measure up intro this week.
I feel like you just read me the long list of side effects of like a restless leg syndrome medication. I feel like while you're saying that, I should be looking at like a grandfather like pushing his grandchild on a swing set on a sunny day and laughing.
Yeah, where you're hearing the most heinous things in the world, but
could cause your eyes to fall
fun.
out. Please ask your doctor if you like your eyes. And the whole time there's just like they're just walking along the beach and feeding a bird and painting a picture and just look how much you're loving life. Don't listen to what you're hearing.
We don't have a new measure up intro, but we do have some mail.
Mail?
Not like email. Electronic mail.
Oh, they have that these days.
Yeah. From, I think, Jennifer, based on some things, who says to please do a tanuki.
That sounds familiar.
Jennifer, I think, also says it would also be great to have episodes about common animals like raccoons and opossums who are extremely interesting and have eligibility for critter groups.
Tanuki.
Tanuki is it's like a Japanese raccoon.
Yep.
You can become one you can put on a suit of one in Mario 2.
That's where I've heard it. It was in the Mario 3D world. You put on the Tanuki suit. Awesome. We do try to sprinkle in some like well-known animals. I think we did the hippo last week.
Yeah.
And there's usually just so much great info about them that it's like low-hanging fruit. So we're going to space it out. But the Tanuki is a great option.
Tanuki has been added to the list. Raccoons might be interesting just to talk about.
What are they?
How are they so good at surviving in so many different types of areas?
They're like adorable mammal versions of cockroaches. They're very adaptable.
Yes.
And they live great in cities.
They're rats with better PR.
Yeah. By being cute.
Yeah.
It really helps to be cute for anyone to really care about you.
Oh, just so sad.
Take that life advice and just tuck that away in your back pocket.
Without further ado, the listener's favorite part of the show.
That is almost an
when you stub your toe.
Did you record me trying to feed my 1-year-old?
What are you feeding him?
That's the sounds he makes when he's bored and doesn't want to eat anymore.
Get him better food.
I've given him yogurt. He likes yogurt, but then eventually he just decides, I'm done eating. I'm going to roar at you instead. How do you like that?
He says, "Ow!"
And then he makes a weird smile at me, and then I know we're done. We're done eating.
Oh, so he's trolling you.
I prefer to think of it as him communicating to me that, okay, I'm full. Thank you, Father. But he makes that noise instead.
Well, what was that? Was it A, snow leopard, B, a coyote, a C, an impala, a coyote, a D, or D, binturong. Binturong, you may remember from our...
Like episode 5.
Yeah, the bear cat.
It smells like popcorn. Wow, I have no idea. Probably not an impala, but the other 3 are strong contenders. Snow leopard, coyote. I'll rule out coyote, I guess. It's binturong and snow leopard. I guess I'll go with binturong. Final answer? Yes.
That is incorrect.
I was on a streak.
Snow leopard.
I think I was between the two. I'm on a streak. I was on a streak. I had like the last 2 or 3. Correct.
I thought this was a slam dunk.
Why? I don't know. I don't listen to snow leopards.
Snow leopards are famously
I listen to Snow Patrol.
Big cats that cannot. They're related to tigers, but they cannot roar. That's the sound they make.
I used to see a snow leopard at the Jacksonville Zoo, but it's not there anymore. Hope
Not
it's okay.
cold enough. Let's talk length. The mudskipper is 16 centimeters, or 6.3 inches. How many mudskippers go into the length of the Kwanzaa River in Angola?
Kwanzaa River. Is it spelled?
It's spelled 3 different ways, one of which is like the holiday. Here's a hint. In 2016, Oscar Scafidi and Alfred Weston from the UK achieved the world record fastest time to travel the length of the river in a kayak, which took 32 days and 12 hours. Is that right?
Kind of helps.
That's a lot. It's incredibly a lot.
It's so much a lot.
I used to watch this guy make Magic the Gathering arena decks, and he would always say, "Wow, that's a little bit a lot," in a Russian accent.
All right, I'm actually going to use your hint for probably the first time ever as a base. I'm going to assume that my guess is that you can 50 miles going downstream in a kayak in a day seems manageable. So times 32 days, that's 1,600 miles. And then 16 million fish. 16 million mudskippers go into the length of this river.
16 million mudskippers. Final answer.
Yes.
The correct answer was 6 million.
Oh. These guys went slow.
It's a kayak.
I have no idea how far you could go in a kayak in one day. Maybe it's a slow-moving river. Maybe they're going upstream. That would be nuts.
The river was about 600 miles. 960 kilometers.
You know, it's funny. Before you said your hint, I was gonna go with about 600 miles as just like a shot in the dark.
Shouldn't have used the hint.
And then I was like, oh, well, 32 days in a kayak. Yeah, I shouldn't have used the hint.
Let's talk weight. They're 0.5 to 65.3 grams.
Okay, in freedom units, please.
It's 2.2 ounces.
Okay. I can work with that.
So how many mudskippers go into the weight of the volume of diamonds produced by Angola in 2019?
I can't work with that.
So you just got to guess the carats, and then convert it to grams.
Is carrots weight? I thought it was purity.
Carat with a K is gold purity. Carat with a C is the weight of a diamond.
Huh. They didn't mention that in the movie Blood Diamond.
Well, here's a hint. Angola is rich in natural resources like diamonds and oil, but it's also one of the worst places in the world for malnutrition. They had a childhood mortality rate of 74.7 deaths per 1,000 live births. In 2019, the same year, the world average was 38 per 1,000.
It's about a little less than double.
Part of the reason for that is deep government corruption.
It's a sad and similar story across lots of countries. So it's the weight of the diamonds in 1 year.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'll go with a ton. That may be pitifully low or obnoxiously large, but we'll go with it.
Okay.
So 14,500 goby fish, or mudskippers, which are goby fish, but mudskippers go into the weight of all the diamonds Angola produces in a year, or finds. I don't think they produce them.
Final answer?
Yep.
The correct answer, which I forgot to write down the carats, but the correct answer is 27,871 mudskippers.
Oh, I mean, at least I had the same number of digits. So
yeah, that they produce 9.1 million carats. How many is that in tons?
I don't know. Looks like it's probably about like 3,500 pounds.
2 U.S. tons.
Okay, 4,000 pounds.
Yeah, it's quite a lot. Pretty rich.
You'd think so.
Let's talk fast facts before we get into the major fact. The mudskipper, you may have guessed, is native to West Africa in countries like Angola, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, Cameroon, and Ghana. Mudskippers enjoy mangrove swamps and tidal flats, which means if you let one go in Florida, it would probably have a great time and become a huge problem.
I'm surprised it hasn't happened already.
They are unable to hibernate in They are able. Why would I talk about something they're not able to do?
There are also
unless everyone can. They're
they
able
are
to
also unable to do taxes.
They're unable to fly around.
They're unable to give you
sound.
A really satisfying high five. Right.
I don't know if any fish could. It might be this one.
Sure.
Although it's a high 1 to them.
Sure.
So they're able to hibernate in burrows during cold seasons. Sometimes their burrows can get low on oxygen, and they will gulp fresh air and replace the air in their burrows. Isn't that fun?
I do the same when there's not a lot of air in my house.
It's just really ineffective.
Yeah, it takes a while.
These frogfish, well, not frogfish with a space, because I think there's also a frogfish with no space, which these are not, are carnivorous and enjoy the way of the ambush predator. Like other fish, they use the move hydrodynamic tongue.
Okay, so I just looked up frogfish, and we need to cover the frogfish. Anyway, continue. So talk to us about this hydrodynamic tongue.
Hydrodynamic tongue is when a fish uses water suction to pull in prey to their mouths. If done right, no can defend.
True.
Which is kind of true unless you're eating one of the many things that in the ocean that have horrible, horrible defense mechanisms for the attacker.
So those would be very good defense mechanisms.
Yeah, very good. Horrible as in full of horror.
True.
They are able to retain moisture with a mucus that covers their entire body. Same.
It's called sweat.
But that's all I got for that. Do you have any interesting big facts?
I do. This major fact is called a fish out of water.
The frogfish. I remember this guy.
Do you? I'd never heard of it before, but it looks nuts.
If you find any animal that's slightly orange and you type it into Google Images, there will be a picture of Donald Trump next to this fish or animal. It's people's
You're
favorite
so
thing.
right. This one's not bad though. This one's, I mean, it's not uncanny, but I can see it. It's also paired with like the hair or like the ridges. Anyway, we'll do the frogfish someday. We'll add it to the list. So anyway, this major fact is called the fish out of water, which is a phrase that's typically used for being out of your element, but for fish, it usually means soon to be dead. But the mudskipper is very good at not being dead when it's out of the water. In fact, it regularly lugs its tiny little body out of the water and onto the mud to find food and presumably muddier pastures. They actually spend the majority of daytime on land, which is just a very odd thing for a fish, because these are not the only fish that can go on land. I think we mentioned it in the Bullseye Snakehead episode 50. Was it 50th episode? So it can go on land to go to other canals and things like that, but it definitely doesn't spend the majority of its time on land, which is the case for the mudskipper. And you might be asking, don't fish have gills? Can't they only really get like oxygen out of water? How wouldn't they just flop pathetically to their deaths if you put them on land? And it's yes, and no to those questions. Yes, it has gills, and yes, it does need water can't even talk, in order to breathe. So it cannot dry out. This is similar to the woodlouse, which is another animal we've covered. It's a crustacean that lives on land and breathes using gills, but I don't want to ruin it. I don't want to ruin the surprise. But it does have gills and it's on land, so it's a very similar situation. The mudskipper has the ability to actually close its gill chambers, and what that does is it traps water inside for a convenient breathing snack on the go. So before going to work in the morning, the mudskipper will pack a lunch of breathing juice, and it'll come out of the water and always have that just in reserve. But it also has another ability called cutaneous respiration, which confused a lot of kids when they were playing Pokemon, and that was a weird ability to have. But no, cutaneous respiration, as the name suggests, is skin breathing. Like you said, it has a mucus over the skin which traps water inside between the mucus and the skin, and it can absorb oxygen from that layer of water. It's kind of like a wetsuit. If when you wore a wetsuit, you absorbed the oxygen that was in the water. So while it spends most of its day on land, the mudskipper, it has to be moist land. It can't be the Gobi Desert. Pun intended. It's almost always skipping across very moist surfaces like moss, mangrove roots, and, you guessed it, mud or silt.
Fair.
So it can always do a good bit of skin breathing when it needs to or replenish its breathing juice supplies in its gills. And that's so it has the ability to trap water in its gills. It also has the ability to breathe through its skin, and lastly, it has a third way. It can also gulp air into its mouth. I think you mentioned that it gulps air and fills its dens with air, but it can also breathe like this because the inside of its mouth is lined with blood vessels that are set very close to the surface of the skin and can absorb oxygen through the air. So it has three systems for being on land for a good portion of the day. But it does require it to be moist ground. So it can breathe on land, because of its hole control and special skin. But how can it move around? Don't fish tend to like flop around pretty helplessly? Yes, but these don't. Thanks to a pair of specialized pectoral fins. You know, the ones on the fish's sides, the ones that it uses to steer, as well as another pair of pelvic fins near the fishing hips. It can move on land using a conjunction of these two. The pectoral fins are actually fused together, which creates a kind of... sorry, not the pectoral fins. The pelvic fins are fused together. These are the ones on the bottom of the fish. And this creates a kind of suction cup that allows the mudskipper to climb up rocks. And other goby fish have this similar pectoral fin situation, allows them to stick to things. But if you watch a video of a mudskipper mudskipping, it kind of looks like like the way a chimpanzee might move. So chimps have their short legs and then their long arms. And so they'll put their long arms on the ground and then they'll swing their short legs
from side to side. Come on, everybody. Let's do the Mario.
No, I don't want to do the Mario. And you can't make me. Not this time. I know it was in my last contract, but I made sure it wasn't in this one. But yeah, so
they swing their legs.
Yeah, they swing their legs forward, and then move their arms forward and legs forward, and so it's kind of this vertical seesaw motion. And so this is what the mudskipper does. It'll take its large pectoral fins, and place them on the ground in front of it, and then move its little pelvic cup things forward, and then kind of just scooch forward using this motion, this alternating motion. And it can also use its tail if it needs to book it. It'll allow it to move a little faster, and it'll also help it jump if it ever needs to jump to catch prey, or to escape being prey, or to kind of jump from one area to the next. So it's a fish that purposefully jumps on land, which is crazy. It's like when Magikarp learns bounce. You're like, what? But it does. And that's all I got for the mudskipper. You got anything else?
That's all I got. What a good land fish.
Yeah, it's probably the best land fish. It's the fish that is most suited to be on land. It's an amphibious fish.
The hibernation, too, could have been its own major fact, because I did not know any fish hibernated.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy as well. So it's a good animal for this show for sure. But yeah, that was the Atlantic Mudskipper, or just mudskippers in general. So for you out there in Podcastia, gulp some air, get out of your comfort zone, and work out your pecs like the mudskipper here in Life, Death, and Taxonomy.
Hey Taxonomy Titans, thanks for listening to the episode. Just a few quick things. As always, reviews and social media engagement are greatly appreciated, but recommending the podcast to friends is the best way to help us grow. If you'd like some LDT flavored merch, check out teespring.com/stores/taxonomy-tees. That's it. Thanks for listening all the way to the end.
Life, Death, and Taxonomy is my favorite in the world podcast.
That felt really short. But it is not.
I'm clocking it at 38 minutes. So.
Yeah.
And there's not a lot of like banter to cut out, so.